Is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi everyone, we're going to give it just another minute and we'll get started. Okay, everybody, looks like we have some attendees. We're going to go ahead and get started. So thank you all for joining our webinar today. Our webinar is covering Windows Admin Center, a new way of managing your Windows servers. And today's session is going to be delivered by Andreas Sobchik and Jan Tore Peterson. My name is Kim Larson, and I am the Director of Business Development for North America. So for those of you who do not know who we are, CTGlobal is a consultancy based in Copenhagen, Denmark, with additional offices in Norway, Benelux, the Baltics, and the United States. Our consultancy is primarily focused on Microsoft technologies, including cloud, data center, security, and our topic for today on Windows Admin Center. So please enjoy the presentation. There's going to be time for Q&A at the end. Please feel free to put your questions in the chat window and we will get to them at the end. And this session is going to also be recorded. Go ahead, Andreas and Jan Tore, and take it away.
So, welcome everybody. My name is Andrea Sobchik. I am working as a senior consultant in CTGlobal. My primary focus is Azure Stack Software Defined Data Center, and with a lot of automation on the top to combine all the pieces and make us work as little as possible. I'm also the co-founder of the Cloud and Data Center user group in Denmark, and I have my blog cloudmechanic.net and my Twitter profile, where you can follow me and ask questions if anything afterwards. When I'm not working with data center and Azure, I am doing a bit racing in my drift car, and that's about it.
I think I clicked. Hi everyone, I'm Jan Tore Pedersen, JT for short. I'm from Norway. I just joined CTGlobal as a senior consultant a couple of months ago. My focus area at CTGlobal will be storage spaces direct, HyperV, software defined data center, Windows Server basically, Azure and Azure Stack. I also do some light speaking. Just spoke at Experts Live. And I'm also a co-organizer at the System Center user group here in Norway on the data center part. You can also reach me on Twitter, and you can also follow me on my blog at jtpeterson.com, where I write about storage spaces direct, Windows servers, and Windows Admin Center as well, which is what we're going to be talking about today. So our agenda today is what is Windows Admin Center. We will also talk about the features that are available in Windows Admin Center. We will talk about extensibility, extensions in Windows Admin Center. And we will also talk about what's next in Windows Admin Center, and what was just released. Released in Windows Admin Center 1806 for insiders. So, what did we have for management before Windows Admin Center, or still have today? You're all familiar with the administration tools we have today, from Windows Server Manager to your Windows updates, to your services, Windows firewalls, your registry editors, and all the other tools we use on a daily basis to administrate our Windows servers. For Windows Server Core, we didn't get these tools, as we only have a command line interface with PowerShell. We also have Task Manager and a very simple sconfig solution, but it's not any of the normal management tools we have in MMC for the Windows Server desktop GUI or for Windows 10 clients. So after 2016 was released, there was some talk about needing something new. And there was briefly a server management tool created in Azure, if you remember. And it was kind of needed because I'm not sure if you know, but MMC, the Microsoft Management Console, was actually designed quite a long time ago. And you're thinking, what is MMC? Well, it was designed when this was your loading screen for Windows. And you had this start menu, and you have this Internet Explorer browser, which is basically Internet Explorer 4.0, which came out in the summer of '97. And that's how old MMC was. And therefore, some people thought that, well, hey, we needed something new. And Cosmos Darwin came up with this new tool that we have on its own time. And yeah, then we got Windows Admin Center.
So what is Windows Admin Center? Windows Admin Center is what everybody wanted for a long, long time, and Linux world has probably had for a long time. Windows Admin Center is a super lightweight HTML5 based web console for doing all the daily management tasks on our Windows servers, both full GUI, server core, and even Windows clients. So it is a collection of all the 10 different consoles we had before merged into a single web console. Let's take a quick look at how it looks like. So here we have the Windows Admin Center console. It's very, very simple. It's very, very easy and lightweight. It's a small MSI file you install, and it doesn't require any databases or any prerequisites. You can see I have a few different solutions. I have a solution for managing servers. I have a solution for managing computer clients. I have something for managing failover clustering. And then I have the new HyperConverged clustering for managing our full SDDC environments. If I want to add a new server, I simply just go in the Add Server menu, or I can import a CSV file or text file with all the server names in. I can then write the name of a server. Add it. And I can now manage the server through the Windows Admin Center. So it's super lightweight, it's super easy to use, and we have a lot of flexibility in it. You can see we have a top menu, we have a tools menu, and then we have the main focus area with all the events. And everything is super fast, super smooth, and it's free, most importantly. So that was just a little sneak peek of what we are going to dive into later in this session.
Thanks, Andreas. So the question is, who is Windows Admin Center for? It is basically for everyone. If you're a small company just having a few servers, you should have it. if you're a large company having hundreds, thousands of servers, or if you're in Azure, you should have it. Along with, it works well along with System Center and Azure. We will talk a bit more about this, but it's being more and more integrated along with Azure and System Center. Andreas will show some new cool things that integrates with System Center. So how's the architecture of Windows Admin Center? Andreas talked about Windows Admin Center being very lightweight. It's a MSI installer. It's 47 megabyte big. It installs in less than 2 minutes. Basically, if you want to do the basic installation, it's a next done installation, and you'll be able to access it on port 443. You have the option of installing it with a self-signed certificate, which is the next done solution, or you also have the option of using your own SSL certificate. Now, remember, when you export a certificate from MMC, your certificate store, the first hash, the first letter or number need to be left out, as there are some encoding being done when you copy it out. So how does it work? You as a user connect, well, Windows Admin Center is built with two parts, the web server and the gateway. The web server doesn't require any infrastructure. It's built into the program. So the user connects via browser directly to the web server via HTTPS. Then the server, the gateway, or the Windows Admin Center uses the gateway to connect to the nodes over PowerShell and WMI over WinRM, giving it a lightweight and easy way to manage the different nodes and giving the user an easy interface to access the solution. There are a few ways we can deploy it. You can deploy it, install it locally on your Windows 10 desktop. It is only available for you as a user. Nobody else can access it. You can install it as a dedicated gateway server where you manage the nodes and the user connects to this gateway server. You can also install it as on a shared server as a managed node where you run other solutions as well, and the user or the users connect to that managed node. You can also install it as a high available solution. We'll talk a bit more about that a little bit on. You can also access it from anywhere. You can publish to a DNS Open Firewall for HTTPS. You can also use a reverse proxy to access it, or use the new features in Azure with the web application proxy that connects to your and use Azure authentication to log into it. We talked about there are a few security features you can use. The basic one is the local users and groups. If it's a non-domain joined computer, you'll just create users on that computer that access it, or you can also use Active Directory and give users access via Active Directory. You can also connect it to Azure Active Directory and use MFA to log in. It has role-based access control. About the high availability, it's an active passive model, so you'll have one node being the active and then the others being passive. And it's based on Windows Server Cluster to use the Windows Admin Center. Andreas?
Yeah. And just a bit add-on to the architecture thing, there is no database or anything behind the Windows Admin Center, so all user settings and the credentials is stored in the local user local profile. So you cannot set it up once and for all for everybody. Everybody has to create their own profile and cover daily settings over.
Yeah, so, and like Andreas showed, you can import the servers. You have an import function. So if, as Andreas said, you can't share the same configuration, so everybody has to import all the servers you have.
but it takes 2 lines of PowerShell to pull out all servers of your AD and create this file. So let's take a look at what features do we have in Windows Admin Center today. So the list is already pretty massive, given that this product is less than a year old. We already got several additions to the service list or to the function list, and it's divided into 3 different categories. The one we can do for servers and computers, the one we can do for failover clustering, and the one we can do for HyperConverged clusters. And the one that is marked with star is still in preview. So these are the newest features that was just released last week, I think. But it's already available right now in the insider's preview. So let's take a tour on the features. So in here, I now have a few servers. If I take my HyperV server here, you can see I get a list of tools related to my server and what roles is installed in here. The first page gives me a nice overview about how my server is configured, what the status is, what processes, the manufacturer, the model, total usage in space, the start, stop, and enable disk metrics. I can also go into settings for the server and enable remote desktop, do some general Hyper-V settings, and enable the role-based access control if I have integrated that one. I also get a nice live preview, a live view on our counters for the network cards, CPU and memory. So a good overview to start with. I can administer all my certificates, where before I had to open MMC, load the module, select what target I wanted to control, and then I was able to control my certificates. But here I can see both a local system and current user. What certificates is here? I can see all certificates on my computer. I can see the expired, the nearly expired. So very easy, very intuitive, and doesn't require me to load some module before I can work with my certificates. I can see the list of my devices, looking like my usual device manager. And the best feature of this one is for sure that on server core, people have had quite hard times updating drivers because they didn't know how to do it through PowerShell and command lines. But now I actually have a GUI tool where I can say update drivers, install from a specific folder, or let it find it on its own. And then it updates my drivers in a nice and easy way. I have the event log, which has always been one of the slowest tools in the MMC console. But here, I nearly instantly get an overview of all my logs. I can very easily search for an event I'm looking for. Then I need to add a specific filter. And it loads more or less instantly. I can easily browse through my systems. And see logs. I also have a file explorer, which was also something people was missing a bit on the server core. I can upload and download files, I can rename, I can extract zip files, I can do all the tasks I usually do in my browser Explorer. I have the firewall settings, I can enable and disable rules, I can control settings for each profile, manage my local users and groups, exactly like I have in my computer management. I can configure the network and change IPs on my server, or enable or disable interface. But here, this was the wrong link. To take this one. you can see. So many of my day-to-day tasks. I also have an integrated PowerShell console, which mostly works. So I can go in here. I just need to approve running.
Yeah, and to just to shoot in here, the PowerShell and the remote desktop solution is using WebSockets. So if you're using some kind of reverse proxy or something that doesn't support it, those two features will not work.
Yep, that's right. But I can do all kinds of things here, as I'm used to in my regular PowerShell console. Disconnect. We have Process Manager, like we have in Task Manager. We have the registry, where we can browse and change registry keys very easily. Also, maybe not the most mind-blowing feature, but it's nice to have all collected in one place and I don't have to switch consoles 5 times. We can do a remote console embedded in the window, so we don't need a secondary RDP manager. And since it's using WebSockets, it takes a bit of time. I don't have permissions to the server, of course. Oh, do I? No. No. We can add roles and features, as we are used to in the graphical server manager from Windows Server 2012 and beyond. And one of the newest features released last week in the preview is the scheduled tasks. So we can start and stop and control scheduled tasks from here. So I can do all the settings for scheduled tasks and start and stop and enable and disable. You can see it's still flagged as in preview, but it should hit general availability soon. We can see all our services, start and stop services, change account, change startup mode, set recovery settings, as we're used to in our services menu. I see, do we have one question? Yeah, that is for Jens Ove. Maybe you can answer the questions.
Yep, I've already done one of them.
Okay, great.
Yeah, already answered. Richard, he's saying it's okay. About Bronson having a question about, does the gateway require Kerberos Delegation to work, or do we re-enter credentials often? That's a tricky question, to be honest. There is a bug in Chrome for Windows Admin Center requiring you to, Andreas has already gone past those, where you have to re-enter the credentials a few times. It's a lot better in Edge,
yeah.
And it's, if you're running a domain joined computer and it's domain and the Windows Admin Center is on a domain joined server. Yes, it works with Kerberos. It should work, but like I said, there is some authentication bugs in Windows Admin Center at the moment. Microsoft is aware, and we are hoping they should be able to fix this pretty soon. So hopefully the login solution should be better going forward. I know it's one of the major
priority.
People are really focusing on and telling Microsoft to have this fixed ASAP. So yeah.
So hopefully we'll get that solved soon. We have our storage manager where we can manage the local disks, the volumes, and the file share. We have the storage replica feature, which is not installed on this server, but the storage replica feature was a bit tricky to configure before. If you did not use Fedora Cluster Manager, you had to do everything in PowerShell. But with Windows Admin Center, you can do it all in the GUI. And we will even also get an interface for the storage migration service, that it will be a part of the Windows Server 2019.
Yep.
So we can easily migrate servers or server data between two nodes seamlessly without doing robocopy.
And about the storage replica, there is a bug in the GA version, and it's still here in the 1806, that it doesn't work every single time. So to be able to get it to work perfectly, you have to do the PowerShell commands, but you will be able to do the rest from Windows Admin Center. And the storage migration service is still a preview. So you can do the migration of the data, but you can't do the cutover yet. It's not enabled yet.
And that will, of course, not be available in GA before Windows Server 2019.
Correct.
Then we have our updates, where we can easily check for online updates or available updates through our visus. We can say check for online updates, and then we'll go to Windows Update Online, and then we get updates. We can see our update history. If I did not kill this machine now. We come back to that one because the way it's come there. But we can see the updates installed. But if I clicked update and clicked over to the virtual machines and then click back to updates, it will be background processing and still loading. So once I click back, it should have should have been loading this while I have been in the other menu and have the result ready for me. So just because you click away, it doesn't lose what you have requested. For the people using HyperV, we have our virtual machine management tool in here, where we can get a nice overview of the usage of our guests and hosts. We can see both CPU and memory. We can get a nice overview of all the servers running on this host. How much are they stressing the host? If we had configured it for Azure HyperConverged, we could set up protection here and directly set up replication to Azure and replicate the machine to Azure and make a disaster recovery copy just by clicking Enable Site Recovery and selecting the account. This is a pretty cool feature, I think. If I dig more into a server, let me select another one.
Andreas, there's a question from Bronson here about the updates. Does the update panel work with WSS or sources, or does it override and go straight to Microsoft updates?
It goes to whatever is the update source defined in registry. So if you have configuration manager or visus defined, it will use that as source, but you have the possibility, as you have in the Windows GUI, to go and check online if that is allowed.
Yeah, so it's the same as you do have on the in your Windows GUI as today. We'll come back to a new option coming soon.
Yeah, but it does respect whatever you have defined in Windows.
Yep.
For the virtual machine overview, I get the overview of the settings for the server. Is it running with dynamic memory? How much memory does it use? Processors, integration version, what host is it running on? Is it clustered or not? Did we protect it with site recovery or HyperV replica? Nice overview of the counters. So I get actual VHD counters and I get the memory, CPU, and network usage live. I can see the disks attached. I can see the network cards attached and specs for the server it is running on. I can also create a checkpoint from here or go in and change settings for it. I know they are working on more and more features for the virtual machines, so hopefully we'll see more soon as for the virtual switches.
And this is one of the parts as well where they are working a lot on is the HyperV, SDN, and S2D integrations. So yeah, we're looking forward to seeing a lot of new things coming here.
There's no doubt that Microsoft wants the Windows Admin Center to be the management tool for all the Windows software-defined data center solutions. And they are really working heavy on this area. As you can see right now, we cannot do very much with the switches, but hopefully that will change and we will be able to do even more. But that is it right now. If I switch over to another machine, I can take a HyperConverged cluster. And if I open that one in the newest preview, they have split out the settings a bit in a nice order, so I can see the compute tools, the storage tools, and the network tools. As I click into the cluster, I get this nice dashboard overview telling me, is there any alarms for the S2D health service? I get a live preview with history of the IOPS, latency, and throughput. The history feature is only available in Windows Server 2019. So if you're doing this on 2016 S2D cluster, you will only get the current live data. But in the next version in 2019, you will be able to go back in time up to a year and see performance data for your cluster in here. We can see the total CPU usage, the total memory usage, and the total storage unit usage. We can see the servers, the virtual disk, drives, and volumes. So I can go into the virtual machines and get an overview of all the virtual machines running in the entire cluster. And as you can see, I don't have very many VMs here. I have the same settings as I have on the individual HyperV host. And the same for the switches. I cannot do much here yet, but I can at least have one interface and manage some settings on the switches for all the hosts. But more is coming.
There is a question about is there ever going to be a facility to have history for each server performance? Yes, there is, and we're going to be talking about that a little bit later on. So we'll come back to that one.
Yeah, but short answer is yes. We can see the how is all our servers in the cluster healthy. We can go to inventory and then we can see, is everything up? How is the usage split out on the servers? If I click it, I will go back to the server menu and get the individual health of the servers. I can do pause and resume. So when I'm going to patch my S2D cluster, I can select the server to pause, patch it, and resume it. And over time, we will also get notifications when the storage jobs is running for the S2D cluster. So we don't patch our servers before they are ready to be patched. Let's take the drives first. I can get an overview of my capacity and is all my drives healthy, so I can see how much do I have left in my SSD pool, how much do I have left in my HDD pool. I can see a nice graphical view over the disk and sort them by size, because then I know how type. Then I can see that they are equally balanced, so I don't have any disks that is more full than the others. I can turn on the light on the disk if I want to go and replace it, and I can see the individual performance for each disk in here.
And this is pretty cool to be able to see the performance on each disk. If you suspect that your cluster is not performing good, that one node is not doing good, you can basically look at your caching devices or your SSDs or HDD and see if there's any abnormal activity going on with your drives. And normally you'd have to, on a server core, you don't have performance monitoring. And this is pretty cool, so you will have a lot of more manageability with this.
Yeah. If we go to volumes, we can go in and check that our volumes is healthy. We can also very, very easily create a new volume. And this is usually a 10-step or 20-step task in a regular SAN. But here I just click create new volume. I select how do I want the resilience to be. I can do 10 gigs on the SSD layer and 20 gigs on the HDD layer. For the 2019 version, I can enable deduplication and compression if I had installed it, and I can enable the integrity check.
And DDUP will be available on RAFS volumes in 2019 as well.
Yeah.
So and it's a pretty good compression on it.
So within a few seconds, I should have a new volume created and presented to all our hosts, and we are able to place new VMs directly on that. That is not so smooth in the usual SANs. Does the volume creation tool honor the free space in the pool needed? Yes, it should do that, as far as I know.
Well, you can of course fill up. You can take all available storage if you want to, but you have to. It doesn't. It will. For now, I don't think it will tell you if you go over the recommended space-free rebuild. So I'll ask about that.
Yeah. So that was the quick feature tour for the current version. We will take a big more look into this later for the newest highlights. But one of the coolest thing with Windows Admin Center, and why they probably shouldn't have called it Windows Admin Center, is the extensibility of the platform. So it's built to be extended. It's built so you can build your own solutions, or third-party companies can build solutions for it. You can see we have another question. Yes, it should surface up any alerts from the health service, Bronson. So any alerts coming from the health service will be shown in the console, and I know they will be even more detailed in the future with even more of the counters from the health service.
Yeah, they're working. The health service they're doing some new stuff to the health service, which is in the RS5 technical previews today. And I know they will add a lot of that to Windows Admin Center, giving us a lot more feedback on what's actually going on. So yeah, we'll see what happens in the next few releases.
Yeah. So we have an extensible platform from the start. We have our open sourced SDK, so we can start building solutions for it. Here. So Microsoft has been having this SDK in preview for quite some time, and some partners has already built a few solutions for this. There is full documentation available on the Microsoft website, and you can go and download the SDK on GitHub. So if you have an idea for a solution that hasn't been built yet, you can build your own solutions directly into the Windows Admin Center, and there's some pretty good samples on how to do it. If I'm not mistaken, it's all based on on HTML5 and PowerShell and Angular and Node.js in so crazy combination. But you can build anything you want, really. So as Jens Tore told, on the architecture side, it's all relying on PowerShell and WMI or SIM going to the gateway. And everything we can pull out with PowerShell or WMI or SIM, we can build an extension for. So everything you can write a PowerShell module for, you can build a GUI for. And we can then start to build our own solutions. We can either build a whole solution or we can just build a tool extension for an existing solution. So right now we have the server solution, we have the HyperConverged cluster solution, but we could build an entire solution ourselves. Or we could just say, hey, we want another extension based on the server solution that shows me information from my ITSM system on this specific server. I see another question. If you want to build a tool for something that is native REST, do you need to? Yes. As far as I know, you have to build it through PowerShell first.
So everything in Windows Admin Center is built on PowerShell and WMI to query the servers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And already today, we have a few tools ready. The first ones that I ever saw make an extension was SquaredUp, and they actually created this long time ago for internal use. So SquaredUp is a HTML5 web console for SCOM to use as the day-to-day administrative and operating interface for handling your alerts and drilling down to your performance and do analytics. This is a very cool extension. We also have the data on for the server that for the guys that has the data on servers for storage-based direct. They know that Daton has created this S2D management tool called Must, and they have also extended that to work inside the Windows Admin Center, so you can get that single pane of glass. Fujitsu also created a health view for their server view, which is the management tool for the Fujitsu servers. I don't know so much about Fujitsu servers, but it is essentially to see the hardware health directly in the Windows Admin Center console. And also coming, as from what we know, is Lenovo is already working on an extension for the Clarity. So you'll be able to see your Lenovo server health inside Windows Admin Center exposed through Clarity. So let's take a look at some of the extensions. Or actually, I can only show a single one. So you can see in here, I have the SquaredUp extension. So when I click on the server, it will auto find from the name of the server the corresponding agent in SCOM and give me the health over the server embedded in here. And it can see what services is installed on this server. So it can see it has a web server installed. So I get all counters related to the web server directly exposed in here. We get the Windows server counters, and I can drill further into this and see up to 12 months performance data from my SCOM environment right inside the console. So as I showed before, this is the tools menu. So I can build an extension just for the tools menu, or I can build an entire solution for something completely new. So who will be the first one making an extension to manage Linux servers? And over to you, Tore.
Yeah. So, what's next with Windows Admin Center? Well, Microsoft released Windows Admin Center at Ignite in September, and as Project Honolulu as a technical preview, and they released. What? Sorry.
I just want to see Bronson had a question. So Squared Up connects to VAC view of a server for the data. So Squared Up does not connect to VAC. Essentially, Squared Up is connected to SCOM and is pulling out all data from the data warehouse. And what the extension does is that it is embedding the Squared Up server view inside a frame in Windows Admin Center. So the workflow is that Windows Admin Center asks Squared Up, can you give me the view of this server inside my window? And Squared Up then fetches the data from SCOM databases.
So Project Honolulu was released at Ignite as a technical preview, and we got it as a GA now in April. And in May, we also got the SDK that Andreas talked about for the extensions. And Microsoft has been talking about that. Well, we're going to be, releasing a lot of new stuff going forward, and we will be able to see that new build, new version every 1 to 2 months. They were about 2 months between the previous releases, so we should be able to see before going to Windows Server 2019 that we should be at least two more new releases. They're also going to be releasing the SDK as a GA with Windows Server 2019, and there are also talks about saying that Windows Admin Center will be an inbox installer solution in Windows Server 2019. So Microsoft also has this user voice feedback page. So if you want to see something in Windows Admin Center, you should go to this page. There is like 300 something plus requests in there, and all the new top features that the things are being, well, everything that is on top there, they will prioritize. Like for instance, the PowerShell module, where you can use PowerShell directly from the HTML5. That was actually the top request going from the get-go, and they implemented that pretty fast. So yeah, use the feedback and vote for things you want and request things you want. So going forward, Microsoft is also going to integrate Windows Admin Center a lot with Azure. There are going to be a lot of different things that they're going to be releasing and integrating. They're going to be doing some discovery with Azure and set up services easily from Windows Admin Center instead of going into the Azure portal. There are some integrations that are going to come, and one that is already here, the Azure Site Recovery, which Andreas just briefly showed you in the HyperV module, where you can set up the backup to Azure and do the Azure Site Recovery. They are going to do the pure Azure backup, which is going to be coming. It's not available yet, but it's going to be available. They're also going to do what I think is pretty cool, to manage your Windows updates from Azure, which is going to be a new feature, hopefully from 2019. And there's going to be a lot more new stuff going forward. Now, Windows Admin Center 18.06 was just released on Tuesday, well, a week ago today. And with that, we got a lot of new stuff that is available. Andreas will show you some of these. One of the new cool things is you can actually view and copy the PowerShell scripts that are being used in Windows Admin Center to do stuff. So you can basically see what's going on if you want to create your own PowerShell commands or scripts. You can also administrate Windows. You can actually admin Windows Server 2008 R2. We're missing the 2, but you have to install the Windows Management Framework 5.1 for it to work, because you need the PowerShell modules. Andreas showed the scheduled tasks, which is in preview now. Though there is a new notification dialog. When you saw Andreas start, they create new disk, now the new volume on the storage space direct cluster. that notification dialog is new and it's more similar to the Azure one. You also have the option now to redirect traffic from HTTP to HTTPS. Before you had to use the HTTPS address to be able to access the Windows Admin Center. Now you can just type in the address of the server or the IP address, and it will go back. Yeah. And it will redirect to HTTPS. This is something you can enable. We didn't talk about connection tags, but that's something you can set on the servers, and then you can search for the tags. Now you can edit these as well. And there are some GUI updates to the gateway settings and the notification pages. One thing we didn't talk about was in the settings for Windows Admin Center, you can actually set it up to, well, I talked about it, but to connect to Azure AD to log in with your Azure AD credentials instead of your local domain credentials, which is the same. And one of the new features in Windows Server 2019, which we also had a question about, is System Insights. System Insights is a new predicative monitoring of your servers. What it does, it monitors your servers' resources and can give a predicative estimate of when you will run out of resources. For instance, if your CPU keeps increasing over time, it can tell you that within so and so many days or weeks or months, you'll be out of CPU or memory or disk. And this is one of the new cool features I'm really looking forward to seeing. And it's only going to be available to view in Windows Admin Center. There's a question as well. Let's see, the SDN Andreas will take after. Can we get email notification from this tool? Not at this moment. There is no email notification as of now. I haven't heard anything about, but it's going to be I think it's one of the top requests on the user feedback. So if you want it, go to the user feedback. I really, really, really want it. Hopefully they can integrate something with SCOM or Azure or something to be able to give you notifications. There's a question.
I think if we're going to get notifications, they need to change some of the architecture, because right now the Windows Admin Center is so lightweight that that is not built to handle such things, Rick.
No, but it's a simple. I think you can. It's probably going to be they're probably going to create something with Office 365 to be able to send emails from your Office 365 environment or your own on-premise Exchange. But as of now, no, there is no way to do this. System Insight, is System Insight ever going to be backwards compatible? No, it's not. It's a new feature of 2019, and it's only going to be available on 2019. So you will need 2019 to be able to get the System Insight. Okay, SDM.
Yeah. So one of the most appreciated feature from my side is the SDM Monitoring dashboard and the VNet control that we also got in the 1806. Traditionally, you go full PowerShell or you go VMM to manage your SDN environment. And if some people don't like VMM, some people don't like PowerShell, it's still very hard to know the health of your SDN environment, even with VMM. So
yeah, there's nothing right. It's not really showing you what's going on.
No, there is a management pack for SCOM that is doing it, but I know that this is something that the SDN team has been working hard on for a long time now, and now it's finally here. And let's take a look at it. And
there's a question as well from Bronson about, does the SDN monitoring currently work on RS1? I don't think it is it?
It does. It does.
So it works.
In fact, the whole SDN module is built for 2016, and it's also just compatible with 2019, but they have tested it the most with 2016. So there you go.
Okay, yep, it works then. And Bronson says, hooray. If you go to the demo, I can so there's another question. System Insights volume consumption forecasting over. I get an error. For some reason, we ran into an error when it checks the system partition on secure boot VM. Have you? No, I've not seen it. And I can probably ask, if you send me an email about this, I can probably get this off to our, I'll try and get it to the PMs for this with some information, Brian.
So if I go into the Windows Admin Center, the SDM features is right now located under the HyperConverged cluster manager. So you cannot manage a full SDN environment spanning multiple clusters from one place at the moment. But this is something that I have also been talking with the guys about. But if I go into the SDN monitoring, it contacts the network controller and pulls out all the information from my SDN environment. So I can see, is my network controller healthy? Is my MUXes healthy? Is my hosts healthy? And my IP pools and the gateways pools. I can see, is there any open alerts from my view? I can see live network throughput on both the gateways and the MUXes. If I click into the network controller, I see the network controller is healthy. I can see what configuration version it is running. I can check that all the sub-services is available and running, that it has connectivity to all the hosts. I can see the load of all the servers, all the network controllers, and what host they are placed on. Same for the load balancers. We can see the health of the load balancer environment. We can see that all the agents are healthy. How much have we consumed for our IPs? And is the MUXes overloaded or not? Do I need to provision more? And finally, the gateways. I can see, is the gateway pools healthy? Is there any open alerts? And how is the load on the network controllers? So this is the monitoring part. The only building part I can do right now is that I can go into inventory in the virtual networks, and I can build a new VNet directly in here. So I can go in and say, I want to build a new VNet. I want to add one subnet. Bam, bam. And that should give me a new subnet. And I can now, when I build a new virtual machine, use the GUI in here to say I want to connect this machine to the SDN switch, so I can connect it to my new network and to this subnet.
Oh, that was
the wrong one. Yes. Yes. And then give it an IP.
There's a question as well. A live view into NUT tables and VIPs would be nice. I'm guessing that's in the works.
Yeah,
they will add a lot more.
Yeah.
The SDN part is going to be heavily invested in going forward, so expect to see updates to the SDN part.
But just, Bronson, if you drop me an email with a description on this, then I will pass it on to the SDN team, because I'm going to talk with them on Monday anyway.
Yep. So, and this looks, the new virtual networks here, everything here looks really cool. And one thing I want to show you guys before we go with the last stuff is going back to the dashboard here. For those of you that are familiar with StorySpace Direct, one of the things that we have, no, it's not here, sorry. One of the things we have is the fact that a lot of, it's built with mostly with RDMA over SMB. And one of the things you can't see without using performance monitor is seeing actually the RDMA traffic. Now, on this, it doesn't have RDMA here, but on a S2D cluster or a server with RDMA-enabled adapters, you will actually have an extra number here showing you the RDMA traffic on these clusters. So this is a pretty cool new thing as well. So yeah, Windows Admin Center is going to be something that we will be using a lot going forward.
So with that, just to recap.
Yeah. So Windows Admin Center is free. It doesn't cost anything. The browsers that are available to use it on is Edge and Chrome. And as we said, there is a bug with the login for Chrome, and some of the Kerberos and single sign-on stuff doesn't. It's not the smoothest thing in the world as of now. It installs on Windows 10 and all Windows Server versions down to 2016. It can manage everything from Windows 10 down to Windows Server 2008 R2. It doesn't require any Azure. It doesn't require any AD. Of course, it would be nice. I like the Azure AD integration. It gives you a lot more security. It has a few security features like HTTPS, LAPS, delegation, Azure AD, of course, MFA, and then the role-based access configuration. Like we talked about, it's a lightweight solution. It doesn't require IIS. It doesn't require any agents. It doesn't require any database. It only requires that you have Windows Management Framework 5.1 on 2008 R2 and 2012 and 2012 R2. Yeah, so it's complementary to your current tools, but it should be hopefully it will be a replacement for most of your tools going forward in the next year or so. Feedback, of course, use the user voice. It is the best place to get new features into Windows Admin Center. If you have anything special, like Andrea said, drop us an email about things. We do have a back way in. And the extensions are, of course, in public preview today. So if you want to create something, go ahead and do it. And it's not that hard as far as I understand.
You need to know your coding.
Yes, you do. But if you're a good developer, you shouldn't have a problem building this. So yeah, and you need to know PowerShell, of course. So any questions?
I can see we still have one left.
Yep.
Monitor S2D performance of soft clusters.
I would say yes.
I would say yes. I actually haven't tried, but I would say yes. As long as it has S2D, shouldn't be any issues with that.
No, it shouldn't, and it should be able to tell you. And like Andreas said, the performance history is not available for historical data on 2016. It's only available in 2019. So when you go into the performance history today on 2016, you'll only get from the time you log in. And if you go back out again, it will stop recording and you'll start over again. So every time you go out from the web page, showing the performance history.
And you asked for application-specific tools like ADFS and DNS. I know one of the most requested features right now is the AD console, so the users and computers.
Yeah.
And who knows? They haven't. I think it's the activity is in review, so it hasn't been declined.
Yeah. So I would say that all the things we have for Active Directory will most likely come at one point.
Maybe in a simplified view, not like as advanced as the users and computers, but maybe as a simple day-to-day management tool to create users and groups.
But the feedback I got when I spoke to Jeff Woolsey about this at Ignite was that the plan is to replace everything that you see in MMC or get something new within Windows Admin Center. So it's going to be there, but it's going to take a while to get this to get there. Remember, MMC has been there since NT 3 point something, so it's a 30-year-old solution. So it will take a while to replace all the 70 to 100 things that are in MMC today. So yeah. Okay, do we have any other questions? Doesn't look like it. So if you have more questions, you can always send us an email, the info mail, or to me and Andreas directly. It's in the chat. I will gladly answer your questions.
So with that, I think we will end this webinar for now. Recordings will be uploaded later this week or next week. So if you missed anything, feel free to contact us.
Thank you all. Great job. And thank you everyone for attending.
Yep. Thank you guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.